Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Haws. Today we are going to be talking about the Reserve Rights token. But before we get started, I'm still a small YouTuber, so please give me a like to help grow this channel. Alright, let's get into it. So the RSR token is a Reserve Right token. Reserve is actually a very interesting project. It looks at a lot of issues that are personal to me. So obviously you guys see what happened in Venezuela and then again in Lebanon. Now I am Lebanese Canadian, so when I saw what happened in Lebanon with the blast that happened earlier in 2020, and then a bunch of government corruption and deep stabilization of their currency, it really kind of hit home. And we can see this happening countless times throughout history and in current times. We know that hyperinflation is a very common thing that happens. Some people deny that inflation is going to happen in any established country, but the reality is that's not always the truth. We know that the rampant printing of money can really radicalize the destabilization of a lot of countries and a lot of their currencies. We see this in Venezuela, we saw this in Lebanon, and even when you look back in history, in terms of the Germans, when they were printing money in the individual towns to make up for the metal shortage, there's a lot of examples of this happening and of this currency destabilization happening in the world. So the RSR token is working to solve that problem. So they have what is called the RSV token, which is a stablecoin, $1 backed coin. And then they have the RSR token, which is the native currency of the RSR system. So let's talk about the numbers before we go into the actual project. So obviously RSR has pumped a lot right now, so we're up around 20%. A couple things to note here in terms of the tokenomics. We have a maximum supply of 100 billion. You see that there's multiple different contracts that are divvying up where this is going. So we have the actual circulating supply of 9.3 billion tokens. The market cap's relatively small at $686 million, and I do think that this could radically increase over the next coming weeks to months. I definitely think in this bull run, we're absolutely going to see a much higher RSR token. So the current price right now is sitting, and this is high because I just looked at this a couple of days ago when I started planning out this video. This is looking at 7 cents. So we can see that it's done a dramatic increase over the last little while. And again, I looked at it around just before Saturday, so obviously it's dramatically changed over the last 24 hours, and it's also increased over the last year that it has been performing at around a 1700% increase. Now I know that's a lot of an increase, but realistically when you're looking at small market caps, it's not unfeasible for a massive increase. So to think that we can still see a 10x from here, I think that's very possible. Seeing a 70 cent RSR token, very, very possible in my opinion. I'm going to start adding this into all of my videos because I get asked this every time I do an analysis video of where I can buy certain tokens. So at the bottom of CoinGecko, now I like to use CoinGecko, you might like CoinMarketCap, but at the very bottom of CoinGecko, you'll notice that down here it shows you where you can buy. So here Binance obviously, but if you go ahead and hit this button, see all trading pairs, you can see each individual pair that it trades with on each individual exchange. So maybe there's a decentralized exchange that you like to use, like Liquid for example, or something else, but you shouldn't have a problem getting RSR. Even Americans should be able to buy RSR over in Binance. And if I'm incorrect in saying that, definitely just go here, find an exchange that you're able to work with, and go ahead and find out how to buy that token. So if there's ever a token that you're ever wondering where to buy it, just go here, find out exactly what trading pair it is. It'll even tell you what it trades in, whether it's ETH or USDT or Bitcoin. So definitely check here if you're having trouble finding a certain token that you wanted to buy. So that's enough about the tokenomics and the price. Let's talk about the project. So the Reserve platform, again, is a stablecoin platform. It works to making sure that there is a stablecoin for situations where a country or an economy is in trouble of either hyperinflation or some sort of currency crisis that requires them to get onto a more stable dollar. And we see this in developing countries too, so it doesn't have to be a destabilizing country. It could be a country that just wants a stable means of trading, which is very common. So to have something like Reserve is definitely going to be a huge thing in developing countries as well as countries that are in financial crisis. Now again, when you're looking at stablecoins and why stablecoins are so important, especially when you're talking about crypto, everything's really volatile, right? And if you're trying to either protect your assets and protect your value, or be able to make sure that you're able to trade and barter and not have a dramatic influx then this could be something that you would need. Just to go over a perspective, in the Germany example that I described, within the process of 2 to 3 years, and then eventually 1 year, one mark piece was worth 1 billion paper marks. So that just goes to show how fast inflation can get away from somebody, and especially when you see inflation and hyperinflation. And we see examples of that in the recent world with Venezuela and Lebanon, as I've already said. So again, because I'm Lebanese and because I have that background, I do have a personal attachment to why we need a stable dollar. Now, I've never lived through anything like that. Of course, I was born in Canada and I've lived in Canada all my life, but that doesn't stop me from being acutely aware of what's happening in the world and what causes major suffering when a currency collapses. And it's one thing that I've really taken into account over the last couple months and even year that I've been looking into either equities or cryptocurrencies. And it's the destabilization of a currency. And I think now more than ever, we're starting to realize that fiat currency isn't going to last. And we've actually never had a fiat currency that didn't eventually lose its value and go to zero. So to say the US dollar, for example, or the British pound or whatever will be the exception to the rule really doesn't make a lot of sense statistically, especially when it's not backed by any hard asset. It is purely backed by trust. Now, you could argue that gold is backed by trust as well, because essentially currency only has value if we believe it has value. The reality is that silver and gold are fundamentally different than just fiat paper. They do have a value, an intrinsic value. A value within them. One, silver can be used for actual products today, so can gold. But gold specifically, it was created out of supernovas, exploding stars. This is something that we can't recreate. And there's something alluring about the look of gold, right? Just to the human psyche, we're drawn to it because it's a spectacular metal. It's created out of this massive reaction. To say that gold's value is based on trust really doesn't have the same effect. Now, the difference between cryptocurrencies is they take the trust out of the whole factor. So there is no trust. That's why cryptocurrencies have their value, because the trust is in the code. Now, of course, some cryptos are going to have more value than others, and that's to be expected, because Bitcoin can obviously still go down or it can go up. But we know in terms of mathematics, there can never be more Bitcoin printed unless all the developers of Bitcoin decided to do so, which is very, very unlikely and probably will never happen. So the fact that this is baked into the code base means the stability of this currency, which is why cryptocurrency is the digital equivalent to gold, silver, or any other hard asset. So just to go over again what I've discussed in terms of the token, there's the RSV token, which is the stable dollar token. Then there's the RSR token, which facilitates the stability of the reserve token. So they have a lot of assets backing the RSR. So how the token is stabilized is when it dips below $1 to say 98 cents, that token is bought up to increase the price. And then when it goes above $1 to say $1.02, the opposite happens where they actually buy assets with the extra, and this incentivizes the market to stay level at $1. So the stabilization is a little bit confusing at first, admittedly. It took me a bit to kind of understand it. But to what I understand, when the price goes over $1, the protocol sells newly minted RSR tokens, and this drives the exchange to bring it back down to $1. And then the opposite happens when it goes under $1, where they actually buy up the reserve token, and that drives the price back up to $1. Now the difference helps feed the tokenized asset vault, which creates more value within the system. When the vault accumulates excess RSV, the RSR holders are able to purchase this with their RSR, and this is part of a stabilization process to keep the RSV stable. And the opposite happens when the assets go below the target range. The protocol will sell the RSR tokenized asset, thereby replenishing the vault with RSV. Everything is driven by code and symbiotic, so it's all working to maintain a homeostasis level of stability for the currency to make sure that other currencies are equally as stable. And again, the primary use of this would be a government or a country could hop onto this and hop into a stable currency, especially with Lebanon. To use an example specific, with Lebanon, it was really hard to donate money. And when that blast happened, of course, I wanted to give back and donate some, but I didn't want to donate to anything that went directly to the Lebanese government because that would have gone nowhere. Definitely would have just lined some people's pockets and wouldn't have gotten to help the people in need that needed food, water, and rebuilding of their homes. So it took some research to find a donation route that I could actually use to get money there. Even if there's an administration fee, and I understand that, there's no way to directly pay the people. So regardless of governments being able to use the RSV, it could also be used by independent citizens trying to maintain their wealth. And this puts an incredible amount of power back in the people's hands. And we've talked about this numerous times. The power is within the money. Whoever holds the money often has the power. And when governments control the money, say like in China and in Hong Kong, you have a real big issue where the government can decide whether or not you get loans or whether or not you get certain funds or whether or not you even have access to your bank account. But obviously cryptocurrency helps solve that problem. And I think the RSV and the RSR system is actually a pretty elegant system to fix a lot of issues that we see in destabilized countries and in developing countries around the world. The big thing that draws me to this team and this project is the ethics around the project, and they talk a lot about why they're doing this and what they're trying to accomplish here. And I truly think there's a lot of issues that come with destabilized currencies and governments just willy-nilly printing currencies, because at the end of the day, who really suffers and who really hurts are the people at the end, the people that don't have enough savings or have too much savings in their fiat currency, in their native currency. Because at the end of the day, if the United States dollar is worth nothing, so are your equities. So is everything else that's not backed by a hard asset like gold, silver, or anything else. So having a system that allows the people to have more autonomy and control over their finances is very, very powerful going into the next industrial revolution. And regardless of any restrictions or any legislation that's coming through in the governments over the next 10 years, we are heading into this industrial revolution. We are heading into handing monetary policy back in the hands of the regular people. Exactly how it should be. I would absolutely recommend that you take a look on the site. I think the product and the team and what their mission is really will resonate with you as much as it's resonated with me. A lot of my viewers here are fans of Cardano, and I know that Reserve have also expressed a lot of interest in helping a lot of the developing countries, both in Africa and other areas, or destabilized countries, and the specific ones that they bring up is Venezuela. So we see that we have a clear use and we see the integrity of the team. But I want to look at the investors, and this is where it's really surprising. Some of you may already be aware of this project, and some of you may have hopped on the train early, which is great. And I still think that for the people watching this video, we are extremely early. Now, a lot of them are reputable names and a lot of them might not be, but the most notable names that you will see is Coinbase Ventures, Peter Thiel, Jack Shelby, the Digital Currency Group, and a bunch more. There's a huge backing to this project and a huge amount of integrity that I truly respect in terms of the RSR and the RSV. And I'm really happy to see projects like this popping out because I think we need more of this going into the new world. We need less government restriction. We need less government oversight. Now, I'm not saying that we need to be able to funnel money through illegal channels. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying we can't restrict progress. We can't restrict fostering these technologies. How we can enhance and change payments and money is incredible. And the fundamental thing about blockchain and blockchain technology is nothing is truly private. We can see everything on the ledger, every transaction that ever happened. So anyone that knows how to read crypto ledgers typically knows exactly how to track transactions. This means that anyone like the FBI or RCMP in Canada can easily find out when illegal activity is being done. So that being said, I think the restrictions need to be limited. Things that are clearly, for example, securities or investment contracts or just Ponzi schemes like BitConnect. That is it for me, everybody. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. I hope everyone's enjoying Bitcoin being over 50K. It's bouncing, it's fluttering around out there. But that is it for me, everybody. If you appreciated this video, you liked the video, go ahead and give me a like. I'm also going to be starting up a schedule for when I'm live streaming. That way you guys know when I'm going to go live. And I do plan on live streaming more and more as the bull market gets a little bit more crazy and a little bit more volatile. That way we can start talking about when to cash out and you'd have real-time discussions with me going forward. So please go ahead and subscribe if you want to catch some of those live streams. All right, everybody, happy hodling.